Face me, Narud. It's over.
It is only beginning. Amon whispered of this from the stars. He told you of his return. He told you of ruin, extinction, the end of all things.
Your god is dead, and he's never coming back.
Is that what you think?
You're not human. You are not Jim! You are nothing! I'm everything you lost. I am everything you never had. You've already lost.
Amon lives. You will see him soon.
Thus ends Samir Duran / Dr. Narud. In quite a epic battle. We saw the amazing power that he has as a shapeshifter. I was waiting for him to briefly, maybe in one of those punches, turn into Samir Duran with the beret and maybe the goatee. Just once to show it.
That would have been huge.
It would have been huge.
Well, what happened to Kerrigan?
She lived. They put her in a pool to heal, and she's going to be okay. But it was quite the battle. It was quite the battle. She's still alive.
I'm like, I don't even care what happened to him. Like, I just watched the Queen of Blades get stabbed.
Yeah. Well, and it was great to see her wings in action, too. And how
yeah, I know. Like, the whole time it's like, okay, there's no skin in between those. You don't fly with those. Come on. Like,
yeah, she doesn't. But they were definitely very powerful. Go ahead,
I thought the dialogue there was actually really, really important to show like the true psyche and the personality, again, going back to that, of Kerrigan. She kind of, after Narud talks or transforms into the old Sarah Kerrigan pre-infestation, he tells her, I'm everything you lost. And that, like, she kind of takes it. She's wailing on Jim Raynor at first, and then she kind of like stops and like looks. And then after she gets stabbed, she says, I'm everything you never had. And that was, again, just this new Kerrigan. It's very interesting. That was a great choice of words. Despite what people may say about the writing of the games, that was definitely a good, nice spot for me.
He was attacking her psychologically, not with emanations like a psychic, but visuals and manipulating her emotions. And he did that with the people in Brood War. And that's how good at what he was at his job.
Yeah, he's a dick.
He is a jerk. He is. He is. But he was able to accomplish his mission. Now, Sixen, I know you wanted to touch on this too. With the artifact itself, you think, why would Narud want to put together the artifact that cleanses, for the most part, Sarah Kerrigan of her Zerg power? Why, if Amon was using her as an agent to pretty much accomplish his mission? And Stukov goes into that about the artifact. Why don't you talk about that for a sec?
It's very interesting, because if we think back to Wings of Liberty, essentially, and this is what people were confused about at first. We kind of have uh, Narud, sorry, and the Tal'Darim. It seems like it crosses over. I'm sorry. It's in contrast with each other.
Contrasting.
It contradicts. That's what I'm looking for. Jesus, I don't know what's going on here. They contradict each other because originally he's trying to gain the artifact, but now he's also trying to get the artifacts to resurrect Amon. And at the same time, Kerrigan has a big part to play here.
You know, she does, because of her cleansing. That power that it was used to cleanse her was used to resurrect Amon. So he, with the infestation and how that Xel'Naga artifact was used, that energy went somewhere. And that's what Sukov's telling her is, listen, that energy went somewhere. And they both realize this was an entire ploy, a machination of Duran to resurrect his master by harnessing the energy that cleansed her and feeding it into wherever it went. That's a scary thought, that she is still part of this plan. But now, since she has become primal, since she has this power that Zeratul guided her towards, she can withstand the power of Amon. It is quite intriguing. But something else happens, Sixen. Something else happens in this moment. A bunch of transmissions are sent, little pods, little video phones, videographs, to different parts of the sector, and they're picked up by the Zerg, and they have a message from Arcturus Manx to Sarah. What is that message?
Manx says very straightforward, Jim Raynor's still alive. And this kind of changes the game, essentially, because now Kerrigan's like, what have I done? Do I believe him? Because originally he said that he was dead to begin with, so what do I do here? And now Kerrigan completely, immediately changes her game plan up. Well, now instead of, well, obviously she still wants to kill Manx, but now her priority here is to get Jim Raynor out. And I just want to take a step back. It's very interesting to think that Kerrigan still plays such a crucial role in this grand scheme of things. Because when you think about it, Kerrigan was a Terran. And the Xel'Naga and Amon, they really didn't touch the Terran. They may or may not have seen that this was coming. So it's interesting to see how Kerrigan plays into this extremely important role, considering that she may or may not have had any part in it to begin with.
It could have been possible that Narud was going to harness the energy through some other means, but then he thought, well, this will be the best way to do it, and I can keep tabs of what's happening in the Terran sector, since they could be a thorn in my side. They're not Protoss nor Zerg. Moving on, though, the space mission, which I loved, and is a huge testament to the great pacing of Heart of the Swarm, where you got to control the Hyperion. You saw a return of different characters, such as Rory Swan and Matt Horner. One of my favorite lines from Horner, if you keep clicking on his ship, hit the bullseye and the dominoes will fall like a house of cards. Jackpot. It was hilarious when I first heard it. And then it gets into this weird dichotomy once again with Mira Hahn. They call her Mira Horner in the game because they technically are married because he won a card game. Right. This goes back to Flashpoint. Flashpoint, Mira Hahn helps them out to escape the Terran Dominion, stashes them on the Dead Man's Port area, and she is still in love with Matt. She saves him. They kiss at one moment. Matt kind of kisses back. He maybe starts to feel something for her, but she's kind of a nuisance. And then it almost kind of wipes away that entire conversation piece, that entire event altogether, but it really doesn't, because it goes into how Mira Hahn is a mercenary and she lives the mercenary code. If her client is not there and her client is Jim Raynor, she can't help them. She can't give him what she wants. And Matt's telling her, Mira, they've captured Jim. That's why he's not here. And Valerian's like, can't we just talk to her? Why does this not work? But Matt understands this is that mercenary code. So when I first saw that interaction, I felt, this is not the Mira Hahn that was in Flashpoint. I felt kind of confused and a little bit disappointed, but Matt cleans it up a bit, saying this is the mercenary code. This is how it has to be. They have to rescue Mr. Orlan from that prison because he can crack the code in order to find where the prison ship is. And the funny banter that goes back and forth is you're destroying the Mira Hahn facilities. So, all right, Matt, all right, stop. You get I'll give you what you want. I'll give you what you want. They find out where the prison ship is. And this is another choice that is important from Wings of Liberty that transfers over to Heart of the Swarm. If you chose to side with Nova, Tosh dies, gets a knife through the head. If you decide to help Tosh, Tosh appears in the background in this moment. He is still on the Hyperion ship. Unfortunately, we don't hear him, you don't see him in action, but he is still there. He's still part of the story. Matt offers his services for Sarah, but she declines. Go ahead, Kevin.
I was just gonna say I don't remember seeing Tosh back there whatsoever. I don't even remember seeing any kind of mention of him. And originally in Wings of Liberty, I sided with Nova, so very interesting.
Yep, that's the little counter flip switch with the choices. This next clip, to me, is one of the most profound clips that comes out of the lore of StarCraft from the people that have complained or addressed the issue of this is not the same Jim Raynor. What he said in Brood War doesn't tie into the character that we see here, that we saw in Wings of Liberty. But this moment addresses those concerns as we see two people together that have fought so many countless battles, and he moving, as he says, heaven and earth to save her. And what happens next, I think, is amazing. Let's go ahead and play that clip.
Sarah?
I had to get you out.
What have you done?
What I had to.
Tell that to Phoenix. Tell it to the millions you butchered.
You swore you'd kill the Queen of Blades. You were the only one who ever believed in me. Do you still believe in me? I love you, Jim. Never forget it.
We're done.
The feels in that moment when Jim says, tell that to Phoenix. Those are the words that I, as adamant as I am of how much I love the lore and how people can change and promises you may have made at a specific time when you were really angry that you may not have wanted to have kept. Those were the words we all were waiting for to hear from Jim. And Sarah saying, you swore to kill the Queen of Blades, but you're the only one who believed in me. Beautiful dialogue in such simple sentences, but means so much to so many people that have played these games. That's what we needed. And when I first saw that clip, Sixen, when I first saw that clip, Lauren, I had to take a pause because it meant so much to me to see that kind of interaction between these two characters. I loved it. And it was a level of storytelling that Blizzard needed to hit with Heart of the Swarm, and they did. And that's why, to me, it made it such a phenomenal experience. We're still not done yet. There's still more to go.
I mean, just
go ahead, Kevin.
So that connection from StarCraft 1 to StarCraft 2, after just coming off of Samir Duran and this whole Lexi Stukov story, we now hear Raynor basically talk back to Kerrigan about Phoenix. I agree. That was definitely a big moment. Not necessarily Nerd Show number 4 or 5 here, but it was definitely up there.
I hear John Lennon in the background saying, "When the power of love overcomes." What is it? Can you finish it? Do you know the quote?
I don't
you
know.
don't know the quote?
I don't know.
When the power of love outweighs the love of power, the world will know peace.
Oh, wow. It's well done.
And then here Kerrigan's like, I want all the power in the world. And then she loses love. The controversy.
Yeah. At what cost do you have to enact your vengeance? And that's what Jim was trying to tell her at the beginning. Just forget Manx. Let's just get out of here. Let's be together.
He wanted
I finally
like a
have
peaceful world.
And in his world, everything that he fought for from Wings of Liberty, he feels is gone.
Mm-hmm.
And when she walks in there and you see through the smoke, I think that's Sarah, and then you see the wings come out, the dread that Jim feels. What have you done? And she says, I love you. Don't forget that. We're done. He's had it. Everyone has their limits. Jim Raynor hit his limit at that moment. And to me, this is the roller coaster of storytelling we needed to happen in Heart of the Swarm. Very dynamic, very dramatic, amazing. Moving on here, there is one man to me that can only play the role of Jim Raynor, and that man is Mr. Robert Clotworthy. And we had the distinct privilege to talk with him about how he brings Jim Raynor to life. Let's see what he had to say.
Only she can save us. Wait a second. You're talking about Kerrigan. It's been 4 years. You show up out of nowhere.
Time is short. You must understand. The answers you seek lie within.
This is Clutch, and I'm standing next to the voice of Jim Raynor himself. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Robert Clotworthy.
Standing next to Robert Clotworthy?
I am, if you can believe it.
As an actor, the one thing that you want to do is to be honest. That's the most important thing.
What are the most challenging pieces to make your performance as Jim Raynor honest?
Raynor is the last honest man in the universe. Honesty is at his core. It's his greatest strength, and it's also his greatest weakness, because it makes him vulnerable.
Now, with the progression of Jim Raynor in Brood War, he says to Sarah after she kills Phoenix, "I'm going to be the man to kill you someday." Now, a lot of people were upset thinking that this is not the same Jim Raynor from Brood War that appeared in Wings of Liberty. What do you have to say to them as an actor? You've played many different characters. How can you explain to maybe an audience that's getting more familiar with stories and how people change regarding that aspect of Jim?
Well, I mean, it's critical. I mean, first of all, from a story standpoint, to establish certain parts of the character, certain elements of the storyline that need to be articulated. He's not in a good place. He lost the one woman that he cared about most in the world, the person that he loves, to something that he has sworn to destroy. So he's got this internal conflict, and as soon as he sees that there's a possibility that he can save her, that he can redeem her, that's what motivates him and gives him the strength to move forward. And that's what makes it so interesting as a viewer, to see this duality. When they finally do meet, what is he going to do? What's going to happen? You know, for those of you who, I'm sure everybody's seen Wings of Liberty at this point, when he finally does save Sarah, it is the moment that Jim has been praying for. It's when, as an actor, that was my favorite scene, when I get to walk away with her in my arms, and it was very simple, where she just looks up. She's incredibly vulnerable at that point in time, and just says, "Jim," and he says, "It's all right, I got you." That's all that he wanted in life. That's when he's at peace. That's when Jim is really, in my opinion, 100% Jim, because he really is a sensitive guy who just wants to be with one person and lead a quiet life. Unfortunately for Jim, I have a feeling that peace is short-lived. He's committed to her, and we'll see what happens in this next chapter. But I'm sure that the audience is going to be pretty surprised at some of the twists and turns that happen, as some questions are answered, others are asked.
Nice to see you too.
Well, Mr. Clotworthy, thank you so much for your time. Ladies and gentlemen, Jim Raynor, I'm Clutch. This has been The Pulse. Twists and turns indeed that have happened in Heart of the Swarm so far. He was not kidding. We are going to take a quick commercial break, but when we come back, we're going to talk about the conclusion of Heart of the Swarm in Act 4, and then we're going to talk about the questions answered and the questions asked. Don't go anywhere.
This is Robert Clotworthy. I'm the voice of Jim Raynor, and as Jimmy would say, you're watching The Pulse.